Everyone, and welcome to the DH Pickleball Show. My name is Mike Behrens, and we are here with David Henry to talk about his journey to becoming, hopefully, a pickleball senior pro. That's what we're going to talk about on these episodes. And along the way, David shares some tips and tricks on how he optimizes his game. And we get to share in that with him, and he's going to give us some updates and all that kind of stuff to hopefully help you play pickleball at a higher level as well, as David tries to do that. So, without any further ado, David Henry, welcome to your own show. Nice to see you, dude. How are you?
Doing very well, Mr. Behrens. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good, buddy. We were talking right before we started recording that I haven't talked to you in a while because you've been awful busy the last couple of days, or last couple of weeks, actually.
I have a lot of pickleball, good stuff going on there. And then, as I shared, my daughter is coaching freshman volleyball, so that season just started. So I like to go to as many of her matches and watch her coach and watch her team play. Awesome. So yeah, super busy, but it's all good stuff.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I want to ask you, but I will hold off to a results show. I want to ask you about a stuff at the time of recording this episode that just recently happened, but we'll wait and talk about that in another episode. So for those of you tuning into this, we do results episodes after every month of, tournaments that David plays in and things like that. So if you haven't caught one of those episodes, definitely check one out. So tonight, though, in tonight's episode, we're going to dive a little deeper into some more paddle customization. And in previous episodes, I think episode 4 and 5, we really focused heavy on nerding out over some pickleball paddle customization and really got into the weeds of what it is. I definitely had my mind blown because I was a complete novice to what pickleball paddle customization is all about. And so tonight, we're going to go a little bit further with it, and we're going to talk about a couple things. One thing that we didn't talk about at all, and so I'm going to stop talking and let you tell us what it is that we're going to talk about tonight with the Twistweight.
Yeah. So absolutely. And I will, I guess probably the best place to start before I get into Twistweight is just to recap a little bit of the things that we've talked about. So, yeah. So, for example, what I was doing with my paddle, I was customizing, or what I'm doing with my paddles, I customize for weight. So that's just static weight measured in grams, putting it on a scale. Then I also look at the balance point. So I throw it on a balance point and see, is it head heavy, head light, or how head heavy is it? And then most importantly, looking at swing weight. So as we talked about in a couple of the episodes, swing weight is the distribution of the weight along the length of the paddle. So when you're actually swinging it through the air, it's how it feels. So, people should definitely go back and watch some of those episodes, because I'm not going to go super deep into that stuff tonight since we've already covered it a lot. But, swing weight, static weight, not that important. Swing weight, super important, because again, that is how it actually feels and plays as it's swinging or moving through the air. And so I customize for those, and I like to play with a little bit more of a head heavy paddle. So I add some weight to my overall paddle to increase the static weight a little bit, but I definitely add some weight here at the tip to drive up the swing weight, because, coming from my tennis background and stuff, I do really like to hit heavy balls on my drive. So a lot of top spin, a lot of pace, and having that extra mass at the tip of the paddle, increasing that swing weight. Just got so much mass coming through the ball with force and then coming over the ball for top spin. So I really like to customize my paddles that way. But then probably equally important as customizing it for performance is I like to do what's called paddle matching. And so I have multiple of the same types of paddles. And as we discussed in previous issues, out of the box specs are not the same. So even if it's the same brand, same model of paddle, out of box specs are not the same. And so I want to make sure that when I reach in my bag and grab a paddle out, that they all feel the same way, they all play the same way, they all have the same, weight, balance point, and swing weight. And so I match them all together. So again, that's a super quick, super high level, recap of what we've talked about in previous episodes. But probably a good place to start.
Yeah, you're right. That is a good place to start, and I missed that in the notes here.
You don't need to tell on yourself. So that's fine.
So, okay.
I had your back. I covered. We rolled with it.
No, that's really good. No, that's perfect. So, okay, so that is a great recap. If you want a deeper dive into the recap of what David was talking about, go back to episodes 4 and 5. Check those out. But tonight, because I already let the cat out of the bag of what we're going to talk about, there was something that you weren't measuring before, something that you weren't talking about before, and I spilled the beans already. So it's twist weight. So
Yeah, for sure.
What was it that made you, why weren't you measuring that before? Give me kind of the backstory of why we're even having that conversation tonight.
Yeah, for sure. So swing weight, like I said, it's the distribution of weight up and down the paddle from the tip to the handle. And swing weight is measured in a swing weight machine like this. So it's measuring the paddle swinging through the air. Twist weight is actually the distribution of the weight across the paddle this way. So the paddle would be twisting. So twist weight, I'll show here in a second, twist weight is measured this way. So the twisting of the paddle. So swing weight like this, twist weight like this. And so the reason that I wasn't measuring, customizing, and matching to twist weight previously was because Briffidi, Brian Fitzpatrick, the guy who makes the Briffidi swing weight machine that I use, there just wasn't a way to do it. He hadn't developed it yet. So that's the reason I wasn't doing it. Yeah, absolutely. And Brian's super smart guy, to be able to create the machine and the app and everything to measure all the swing weight and twist weight and stuff like that. But I had seen some videos in years past of tennis where people would measure twist weight by taking the swing weight and measuring it this way. Then they would turn the paddle like this and swing it like this, and they would measure twist weight. And so I was scratching my head because I could have done that on my Briffidi the way it stood even before Brian added an attachment that we're going to talk about. But so I asked him, I said, is that an accurate way to measure twist weight? Because I've seen people do it in tennis, but again, just because you see people doing stuff on YouTube doesn't mean that it's correct. And right. He said for tennis rackets, and again, I'm not smart enough to know the reason, but for tennis rackets, doing it that way where you swing weight this way and then this way, he said you can get close to twist weight on a tennis racket. Mm-hmm. He said, but with pickleball paddles, and again, I can't explain the reasons, but with pickleball paddles, no, you can't really get a twist weight that way. So what he did is his Briffidi machine, and I've linked to it in previous videos and posts, and I'll do it for this one as well. But it was originally designed for tennis. Mm-hmm. But then he made a pickleball attachment, which shortened it a little bit so you could swing the pickleball paddle. So it worked for pickleball. And then he developed this little gadget here, which is a twist weight adapter. So cool. What I do is I put the twist weight adapter in the Briffidi, and then I set the paddle down in the twist weight adapter, and then on the machine we can twist it this way and take the measurement. So it's a really, really cool attachment that he developed and then I bought to put in use. But yeah, that's really the reason that I wasn't doing twist weight before, is because I didn't have a good way to measure it. And then fortunately, Brian gave me a great way to do so.
Okay, well, that makes a perfect sense why you weren't doing it before.
Yeah, absolutely. And he did have this. He's had this attachment out for a little while, and I hadn't purchased it yet. But then it was just kind of eating at me a little bit. Like, I'm going to all this great length to do weight, balance, swing weight, yet I'm not doing twist weight. I probably, I felt like I was neglecting my optimizations, my matching a little bit by not looking at twist weight. And, I will say it's probably not nearly as an important of a measurement for me, particularly as swing weight, because if you think about it, most of the shots that I'm doing, whether it's a drive or a volley or a serve, and most of the motion is like a swing weight motion. So, I'm swinging the paddle this way. I'm not sitting there twisting the paddle too much while I'm playing. So twist weight's not important for me. But where twist weight's really important, though, is really, I can think of a couple scenarios, is if someone's hitting off-center shots. So look, I'm blessed with hand-eye coordination and racket skills. God didn't give me a whole lot of talents when I was born, but that's one that I have. And so I'm fairly good at not hitting off-center shots. So I'm pretty good at hitting, most of the shots in the sweet spot on the paddle. But for some people who hit off-center shots, that twist weight really makes a difference, because if you're hitting the ball up here, then that, on a volley or something, that paddle can really twist when the ball impacts it due to a lower twist weight. So if that's impacting someone's shot, they may want to add weight on the sides to increase the twist weight. So when the ball hits off center, that paddle's not moving as much because there's a high twist weight on it. So that's kind of a reason. And then someone whose game style is just someone who does a lot of punch volleys and does a lot of blocking of drives at the kitchen line, they could probably benefit, from a little bit higher twist weight. But for me, not that important of a measurement from a customization standpoint, but I did really want to make sure, because paddle matching is so important to me, that I wanted to make sure that, okay, now I've got my paddles matched for weight, balance, and swing weight. Let's make sure that they're matched for twist weight as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, that's a great reason to do it now that you have the attachment to do it.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So now that you've got them, I mean, I'm assuming that since you got the adapter, that you've gone and matched everything. So what did you find when you started going with your Joolas and going through it? Were they out of whack? I mean, was it a crazy difference? How did that play out when you started looking at it?
Yeah. Fortunately, no, not a crazy difference, and I haven't really had to do anything to it. So I'm really playing with two different Joolas right now. My two newest are the ones that I'm really carrying. I think they're my fourth and fifth, but the two newest are the ones I'm carrying, and the ones that I have matched perfectly right now to the specs that I want to play with. And so I put both of those on the Briffidi and put them in the Twistweight adapter. And one of them came out as a twist weight of 7, and the other one came out as 6. So I'm considering those matched. I'm not even messing with it, because I got the grams identical, I got the balance point identical, I got the swing weight identical, and I've got the twist weight almost identical. So nothing for me to do, but it does give me a little bit of peace of mind to know that they're just perfectly matched.
Well, okay. So on what's the scale then? If 6 and 7 could be a big difference if the scale is only 10, but if the scale is 100, 6 and 7 is a minute difference. So what's the scale?
Real good point, and I don't have that answer.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
No, I don't. But good point, and you're right. I probably need to pick Brian's brain on that one, because I am assuming 6 and 7 is not that big of a difference. But you're right, it could be. So I guess we'll have to report back on that.
Brian, we got to get a hold of him.
Yeah, he's super responsive. So I direct message him on Instagram all the time. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I would be curious to know, just because,
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't have to do anything. How would you even match it? The same way you match everything else?
Yeah, and that's a really good question, because it gets a little tricky. So basically, in order, let's say this is the one that's 6, and this is the one that's 7. So I'm going to have to increase the twist weight on the one that's 6. So in order to do that, I'm going to guess, and again, we talked about in issue 5 how I take the little putty balls and I do trial and error and I get it all dialed in, but I'm going to guess it to increase the twist weight from a 6 to a 7, I'm going to have to add a little bit of weight along the sides somewhere.
Sure.
Okay? So when I do that, adding weight on the sides, that's additional weight to the paddle. Then that probably is messing with the swing weight a little bit. So it really starts this game of trial and error and really, getting things in, because one change on twist weight is going to change the swing weight. But then, I got to counter for that. And so, that was one reason too why when I said 6 and 7, well, that's good. So that way I didn't have to go through that exercise of racking my brain and figuring out how to get it adjusted so that I increase the twist weight. But so when I talk to Brian, I'm going to hope that he says 6 and 7 is no big deal, and you don't have to do it. But if he says that's a big difference, then I am going to have to undertake that exercise of going through. And again, I'm joking about it and we're laughing about it. It's probably not that terrible, again, because of the way I do it with the little putty and trial and error. I can move weight around in very small increments and then measure, and then move weight around and measure. So I'm sure I could get it dialed in perfectly if I needed to.
That's awesome. I mean, that's a good reason to hope that 6 and 7 aren't that big of a difference.
Yes, we'll find out.
Oh, that's awesome. I just wonder, like, do you think that the other customization that you did, I mean, this would be something for you to check next time you get a new paddle, before you customize it, what the twist weight is and how much adding the swing weight affects the twist weight. And then it would be part of your calculations of figuring out how to do it. That would be curious. I would be interested to know.
Yeah, correct. And the 6 and the 7 that I mentioned, that's fully loaded. I've got the 2 over grips on here. I've got the perimeter weighting and the tape. So that's fully loaded. So normally I do all the measurements naked. So I strip off the grip, strip off all the weight, and do the measurements naked. I haven't done that yet on Twistweight, only because I just recently regripped the paddle. So I don't want to waste over grips and things like that. So, but as soon as it's time to regrip both my paddles, then I will take that naked measurement and see what the twist weight starts out as. And then when I just go through my normal customizations to bring it up to, play ready, I'll see how much that twist weight changes from naked to fully done.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. All right. So then let me ask, on a scale of importance between just overall weight, balance, swing weight, and twist weight, how are you going to rank those 4? Like, swing weight's probably most important. How would you rank the 4 of them?
Yeah, swing weight without a doubt is most important, because again, most of the shots and the strokes, you're swinging the paddle that way. So you're holding it at the grip and you're swinging it. So that's by far the most important measure. And then balance, kind of, when you have like we talked about before, when you've got the weight matched and the swing weight matched, the balance kind of takes care of itself and is matched. So I would say swing weight's probably the most important. Then for my game, probably static weight, and then probably twist weight.
Okay.
Twist weight is probably the least important for me, but I just wanted to round out the measurements and make sure I was doing all of them.
Got it. Okay, cool. Good to know. Yeah, I was just, my brain was wondering what was most important and figuring it out. So cool. Yeah. All right. So now moving forward, that'll be your typical thing, is you'll measure the four different categories and figure it all out, and then customize to fit so they're all the same.
Yeah, absolutely. So the final weight right now of the Joolas that I have matched that I'm playing with, the final weight is 235 grams, 12 points head heavy, swing weight of 126, twist weight of, we'll say, 6 or 7, and then the grip circumference at 4 1/4 inches. So those are my play specs right now.
Okay. Cool. And is that new paddle working out? I mean, it was pretty easy to customize it when you got a new paddle, because you just got a new paddle recently, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. And you're really good at segueing into the next topic. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But you didn't even know it, and you did, but that's good.
I did have a general idea, but I was making sure that you just got a new paddle. So switching gears, let's go into the next topic and talk about that new paddle and how the out of the box specs were for that, because you just got it's the same Joola paddle, right? Like, it didn't, in the same version, same model and everything. Just okay. So how much customization did you have to do for that?
Yeah. So that one, that's a real important point. So in previous episodes, I forget if it was 4 or 5, probably, I'm not even going to guess, 4 or 5. We talked about how the out of the box specs on 3 of my first 3 Joolas, we compared those to out of box specs, and they were different. Yeah. Again, same model of paddle, same brand, same model, and the weights were different, the balance points were different, and the swing weights were different. And some of the differences were significant. And then on the Franklin, so I wanted to be fair to Joola's, and not say that Joola's specs weren't matched perfectly out of the box. But I had a couple of old Franklins, which are the exact same model, and those specs were off as well. I think even one of the Franklins, there was like a 10-gram difference in weight, which that's
That's a lot.
yeah, it's a pretty decent amount. And so so again, that's why the concept of paddle matching is so important, because you can't buy 3 Joolas over time and think, oh, they're gonna be exactly the same from a weight balance and swing weight and twist weight perspective. And so that's why paddle matching is so important. But anyway, the last 2 Joolas that I purchased, they were both the Joola Swift version, which is a little bit lighter version than the ones that I had previously had, the originals. And they were like almost identical. So I was
really?
super impressed. Yeah. And they were probably purchased, trying to think, maybe 4 months apart. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if they were in the same batch or the same lot of shipment that Joola got from the manufacturing facility or not. But yeah, so let me just see here. So the first, so Joola number 4, which was the first of the Swift version that I bought, its weight was 211 grams, and the Joola 5 was 211, so identical on the grams.
Wow.
The balance point, one was 13 points head heavy, the other was 12.5 points head heavy.
Wow.
So I mean, that could even just be that's an eighth of it. That's an eighth. That's 1/16 of an inch difference. Is a half a point. Wow. It's one. So that could just be my operator error, my bad eyesight, looking at the ruler. So let's call those the same. Then the swing weight, naked out of the box, was 114 on Joola 4, and then it was 114 on Joola 5. So barely had to do anything to get those paddles matched. I was impressed. Again, I don't know if I don't know if there have been significant improvements in the manufacturing tolerances, or if that's just blind luck that those 2 paddles happen to, and I will get a third one. I love playing with this paddle. I have no plans of switching away from this paddle. I love how it suits my game, and I'm used to it. And when I find something that works, I don't like switching away from it. So I will definitely buy another Swift probably within the next few months, as some of these start to wear out. I continue. So we'll see when I buy that third Swift. It'll be the 6th Hyperion, but the third Swift version. We'll see. We'll see if the third one matches as well.
Yeah,
be interesting.
Yeah, that'll be very telling of the manufacturing practice there, and how tight they have the tolerances. If the third one, after, and the distance in the purchasing, I can't imagine that it's the third one will be the same lot as the first one. It's possible that the first and second were the same lot, but I can't imagine that the first and third are going to be the same. So
yeah, I completely agree. Given that the first and third will probably be 7, 8, 9 months apart.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah,
well, that's cool.
So, it'll be fascinating to find out.
That's cool. That's very cool. So to match them, I mean, out of the box, it wasn't right. The one you just got, it didn't match what you play at, correct?
Correct. So I still had to add the exact same amount of weight that I always do my perimeter weighting, my head weighting. I still added the 2 over grips and the same amount of finishing tape. So yeah, I still did all those to take it from naked to play ready, but the naked specs matched. So then when I did all the identical customization work, the final specs also matched.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. And it made the figuring it out pretty easy, because you probably tracked how much you had to put on every time too, right?
Super easy. That was the easy. That was the easiest matching job I've done thus far.
That's awesome. Well, let's hope that the next one. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
You hear that, Joola? You sure get it right.
That's right.
Oh shoot, I love it. Okay, all right. So then, last thing we want to talk about is there was a announcement from a major pickleball paddle retailer about paddle specs. Tell me about it, and what do you think about it?
Yeah. So it was probably a couple weeks ago. We're recording this in late August. So a couple weeks ago that I saw a video from Pickleball Central. So Pickleball Central, probably the biggest pickleball retailer out there. I don't have any data to say that they are, but they're one of the first and the biggest, and they do a great job. I bought stuff from them in the past. And so they Pickleball Central announced that what they're going to be doing is they're going to be listing on all the paddles they sell. So they sell a ton of different brands, ton of different models, and what they're going to be listing on their paddles are Swingweight and Twistweight. So right now, if you go to their website, it's going to have the weight range. So the static weight, it's probably going to have a range for the grip circumference, and but doesn't have any twist weight or swing weight. And so what they're going to do starting soon is start listing out the twist weight and the swing weight for every paddle, which I think is great. I think it's great. I think that hopefully maybe through this show we can educate a little bit, but I think the vast majority of just the recreational players and people that are buying paddles, I mean, they probably are not going to know what those numbers mean when they see them on the Pickleball Central website. But I think it's a great step, in the right direction that they're going to start doing this, because just over time, more and more people are going to be learning what swing weight and twist weight mean. People are going to be wanting to know more about, optimizing and customizing and matching paddles. And so I think it's really, really cool that they're going to start doing this.
Huh. That's cool, but I have questions.
Yeah, please, because I have more to say about it, but go ahead and fire away.
Well, my immediate thought is, given the previous paddle issues that you've experienced personally with out-of-the-box weights and stuff, how are they going to do that? Like, are they going to measure every single one of them? Is the manufacturing doing this? Like, that's where my head went.
Yeah, so the manufacturer's not doing it. So they're doing it themselves, because in the video, the guy that talked, he actually gave he had a hammer. So he gave that hammer analogy that I gave in a previous thing about what swing weight means and a good way to understand it. And then he had sitting there on the table with him, he had a head swing weight machine, a racket diagnostics center. So head is big in the tennis racket world, and head makes a machine. And so let's circle back to the machine. Make sure I don't forget that. So I want to come back to that. But to answer your question is, they're going to be doing it themselves at Pickleball Central. So that's the missing piece that I'm wondering is, okay, I have no idea when they get a shipment of Hyperions. I mean, are they getting 100? Are they getting 500? Are they getting 1,000? I have no idea how many they're getting in a shipment. But are they going to do some sort of sampling of those to see? Because again, like we talked about, the out-of-the-box specs were not very similar on some of my earlier purchases. Now, my last two that we just talked about were, but I don't know that that's a given yet. So so I'm super curious to learn, how they're going to do it. If they're going to do a sampling of, every 10 paddles, or who knows what they're going to do. But that's very, very good that your brain went there to, because I have the same question. And my guess is what they might do, because a lot of times what retailers do right now is they list a range on static weight.
Yeah.
And sometimes they list a range on grip size, things like that. So they might do that too. So they might take several measurements and they might list, hey, your swing weight's between 122 and 124. I don't know.
Sure.
They might do that. But they're going to do swing weight and twist weight, I believe. So super interesting.
That's cool. I mean, I just logistically, it seems like it would be a big undertaking, even if you get a couple paddles, because new paddles probably come in some sort of packaging, right? Like, it's not like they're coming without branding or packaging on them. And so you'd have to probably remove the packaging to measure, because you can't get accurate measurement with packaging on it. And they're not going to go and measure every single paddle. So then at that point, are they just taking the manufacturer's projected weights and then writing those down? Or, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, there could be a lot of loopholes in that immediately jump to mind.
for sure. Like, these Joola paddles, they come with like a cardboard
Yeah.
that's over the face. So you got to remove that cardboard, branding and marketing, and then of course the grip. Generally, there's a plastic, clear
Right.
plastic covering over the grip that you got to remove that. So yeah, so it's going to be interesting. So I certainly hope. I mean, again, I applaud them for doing this, and the more
Yeah.
information that you can put in the consumer's hands to help with a decision, and then again, like I said, the consumer's knowledge has to rise as well in order to be able to understand what that information means, and you know. If I buy a paddle with a 122 swing weight, what does that mean? So we've got that, but I definitely applaud them for doing it. I am just curious as to the logistics of how they're going to accomplish it
Yeah.
and have it be accurate. But again, hopefully they'll put out some more videos about it, in the future as they move down that path.
Yeah. Cool. No, that sounds great. And I think it'll make people more aware, because right now
Sure.
the novice player and the average player probably doesn't even realize how important of a thing that is. And if it's on the packaging, now it's going to be like,
it's going to make them ask.
Yeah. Well, what is this? Why is this important? And then they'll be like, oh, how do I customize it? And so I think that's a good thing all the way around.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. No, I agree. And so I want to circle back on the machine that they're using. It's a head racket diagnostic machine that again is designed for tennis. Head is a big player in the tennis space. Number one in the world, probably the GOAT. Novak Djokovic plays with a head racket. And but the reason that the tennis machines couldn't measure swing weight for pickleball, and the reason that I found Brian, I was able to find him in the Briffidi, and that it worked, is because the arm that grabs the paddle that then does the swinging on those machines, the diagnostic machine has a floor, a shelf to it, a base. A base would be a better word. And the arm is always at the back of that base, okay? So for a tennis racket, there are much longer handles, and then you've got a longer throat before you get to the part of the racket that, gets wider. So because they're longer before you get to that, the racket sticks out over that base. And so it can freely swing.
Right.
Well, a pickleball paddle is shorter, and so if you use a traditional tennis swing weight machine, it's going to hit on that base, so they don't work. So basically, I actually contacted my friend from tennis, Mark Gonzalez. He's been a long time rep of Yonex products, and he's got his own line called Alpha, and he has an Alpha AccuSwing, which was a swing weight machine. And so when I first started going down this road, I contacted him and said, "Hey, I'd like to buy your AccuSwing, but for pickleball." And that's when he told me, he said it won't work. And he explained that whole issue about where the arm is at the back and the base and how it would hit. I'm like, makes perfect sense. So that's where I just kind of kept looking and found Brian in the Briffidi. But so anyway, so I'm just going to be curious as to how Pickleball Central accounts for that using the Head machine, but they are partnering with Head. They said thanks to the people at Head who gave us this machine. So it looked like in the video, it looked like there may have been some sort of attachment on the arm that does the swinging. So maybe they're accounting for it. I'm sure they are. I mean, I can't imagine that they'd go to the time and trouble to work with Head and then make this announcement that they're going to do swing weight and twist weight and then say, oh, we didn't think about it hitting the base. So I'm sure they've worked it out, but I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah.
So again, I just hope, I applaud them. I'm excited about it, and I just hope they put out a little bit more videos and updates and information as they progress down that path, just to for no other reason but to satisfy my curiosity.
Yeah, mine too. Oh no, that's cool, man. Very cool. Well, we will anxiously await Pickleball Central for some more information on how you're going to do that, and hopefully other
and then I'm sure other retailers are going to be forced to follow. So hopefully in a couple of years, it's going to be just a standard. Twistweight and Swingweight are going to be standard metrics that are available on any sort of pickleball paddle site where you can purchase them, and a lot more people know about it and understand it. It's just going to be good for everybody and good for the game.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love to hear that. That's awesome. Very cool. Okay. All right. Well, David, Anything else that you want to share about Twistweight or your thoughts on it showing up on the retailer for this episode?
No, I think we're pretty good.
All right, cool. All right. Well, for David Henry, myself, thanks for tuning in to the DH Pickleball Show. You can always follow David on Instagram at just DH Pickleball. He posts some updates. You get a advance notice on his results, and you can see when he has some successes, and he even shares when he maybe doesn't have the best success either.
For sure.
So it's definitely a good thing to follow David on Instagram. Like, comment, subscribe on the YouTube channel. Would love to answer any questions. If you have any comments and questions, just leave them in the comment section, and we'll get to them on a future episode. But for now, and for David Henry, thanks for tuning in to the DH Pickleball Show, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.